Hey guys, I'm back again. We're going to be tuning the CVs on this locomotive that I just finished converting, but I wanted to show you how it runs before I make any changes to it. And I had mentioned in my last video that I was going to swap the decoder in this little Bachmann, and I said it was because it didn't support 4-digit addressing, but it does support 4-digit addressing. It will not support speed curves or top speed settings, even the basic speed curves it can't handle. It can handle a start voltage, but that's about it. So that would be one reason to change out the decoder, because this thing will do like 180 miles an hour right now. I've got my little throttle set up for the address. Right now that locomotive is set to 3, so we're set to 3. I'm going to turn it up, and hopefully you can see both of these at the same time. Make sure we're going forward, and as I turn very slowly, finally it takes off. Okay, so it's got quite the pause. Then if I just inch this forward, it takes off like crazy at the next little step. So there's not like a fine amount of control. So you have, there's where it starts, and you go up a little bit and it goes up, and then it starts getting smooth up above that. So we don't like the way that acts, so we're going to change that. And two things to change that. One's the kickstart voltage, and then the other one is to set a speed curve. And we're going to try the basic speed curve first. This is my Digitrax PR3. It's all hooked up and running. I've got my JMRI is up. I haven't read this locomotive. In fact, I don't even have an entry for it in my roster. So that will be the first thing we do. He's on the programming track. He's ready to say new loco. Just read it from decoder type. And it identified it, or it will identify it. There, it switched to Digitrax. And I know it's a 143. And it doesn't matter which 143. They got a bunch of different ones. We're just going to pick the 143. Open the programmer. Identified as a GP39M. Road number is 2814. It's got all the pertinences. So the next step that I usually do is hit this read all sheets. We're done. So now I'll run up here and say file, save. That puts it in the roster. Going to basic, I want to use 4-digit addressing. I'm going to put in my 2814 write full sheet. We can write just the changes if we want to, and that makes it a little faster, so we'll do that. Okay, so those weren't updated, but now we're good. Motor, we've got a kickstart value of 2. On my other little Atlas, the RS3 that I have a kickstart value of 3. 5, 3. Okay. I don't mess with the drive frequency right now. We're just going to write those changes. Speed control, I know on the other one, the Atlas, we used a 35 as a max. I used 20, but we're going to set this to 17 because it's acting so jerky. And we'll save that. And for right now, that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to go advanced speed table or anything else. We're just going to save those changes and make sure I save that file. Okay, and let's take it back up to the track and we'll try it out. Alright, I had programmed it with the acceleration and deceleration rate of my RS3, but this unit has way bigger flywheels in it. I don't need that big of an acceleration, so I had to go and take that out. It requires a higher start voltage. But this little green light will flicker as I go through the speed step. There's step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So speed step 6, we get something moving, and you can already tell it's way better than what it was, because it'll creep along quite nicely. With a little bit more fine tuning, I can get that even better. So if I reverse it, it should go and go backwards, and that's pretty smooth. So, and as I increase, now it's a little bit smoother. Okay, we're using the basic speed curve table, this little tab right here, and right now I've got it set to go up to 255. Well, I probably don't want it that high, so we're going to set it, let's set it around 130. I'm going to set my mid 160 something. Oh, write the changes. Okay, and now we're going to go back to the motor, and we're going to give it a higher value for the kickstart. Let's put in like 15. Drive frequency of, let's say, 30. Make sure I save this, and we'll give that a try here. You can see we're up there a ways. Now it's going. It's creeping pretty nicely. Although I have to get the knob up there a ways to get it to go. We're going to increase it up. Top speed's still pretty high, so I'm going to reduce that. I've gone back and forth a couple times here. I'm adjusting the initial start voltage by 5 each time. What I'm trying to do is get it at a small throttle opening. It will move, and move smoothly, and not just jackrabbit off of there. Okay, so that's a fairly good thing. Now, if I ramp it up just a little bit, it's a fairly good speed, good creeping speed, good switching speed. I've got some pretty good control. You can see it's moving a little faster. You can see my top speed. I'm not at the top speed yet, but we will be. There's top speed. Still pretty fast. I could probably bump that down by about 20. So right now I've got my mid volt set to 32, start volts at 15. I could probably bump that up another 5. I'm going to try that at 20. I'm going to bump this down by 20. Let's make that 54. And that makes my mid about 40. Okay, and we're writing the changes. I'll give you a look at what that looks like. There I am, just cracking the throttle, and you can see it's moving. And it's a good slow creep. So open that up. Going a little faster. Now my top speed's a little slow. It's not too bad though, so it'll creep at that speed. You may actually be able to get it to creep a little slower. It's still moving. It's kind of a little jerky. That's where that motor frequency, drive frequency comes in. I can hear it singing a little bit. Try a couple of different motor frequencies and see what we get. Just to show you guys what happens when you put it up to 80 on the motor drive frequency, I didn't make any other changes. I have to use a bigger throttle opening to get it started. I'm sure you can hear how noisy that is. 15 in for the frequency drive, and I've got it in neutral right here, but I haven't moved my throttle setting from where it was at 80. My problem may be that the kickstart voltage is not high enough, because it seems to run pretty smooth down here once it gets going. I've adjusted my kickstart up to 50 and the drive frequency is 15. I may go a little higher on that kickstart and write those and go back to my basic speed control. I've got my start volt set at 20. I'm going to drop that back down to 15, 20, 35, 35. Let's write those changes. Okay, and we'll check that out. The higher kickstart voltage seemed to allow the locomotive to actually creep pretty nicely, and you can hear it. It's still moving, but it's got kind of a surge to it. But it's very controllable. So I lowered the start voltage, and I may have to put that back up where it was. Yep, because that's too much throttle. Back to 20 for start voltage. And it takes off pretty smoothly. A pretty small throttle opening. So this project, I spent 2 days doing it, between filming and editing and everything else. I probably have about 6 hours total into converting this locomotive, so it really didn't take all that long. The interesting challenge about putting these rotating beacons and making the lights is they'll be attached to the shell, so I have to come up a little connector or socket or whatever to be able to disconnect the wires and get the shell off, you know, and have enough slack in there that I'm not going to bust stuff loose. But we'll see how that goes. I'll show you how that all comes together. Alright, we'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching.